Hey guys, how's it going? Vytera here. Hatsune Miku and friends have finally made their way onto the Nintendo Switch, so how well or how poorly do they make the transition onto the console? We're gonna talk about that in this video today. You see, when it comes to 2020, we saw a good number of game releases, and we've still got a good number of games to look forward to. You've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, you've got Persona 5 The Royal, you've got Animal Crossing New Horizons, but honestly for me, Hatsune Miku Project Diva was sitting prettily near the top of that list for quite some time. One reason why I was really excited to see this game coming to the Nintendo Switch was because I really believed that this type of game would work perfectly on the console handheld hybrid, especially because it's a rhythm game that can be eaten in bite-sized chunks. I should also go ahead and mention that Project Diva did find its roots on the PlayStation Portable and was last seen in the handheld scene back on the PlayStation Vita, so given that really this is a return to form for the franchise, how well do Miku and friends perform on the Nintendo Switch? And let me tell you that Project Diva Megamix knew how to make a fantastic first impression. From the brand new opening cinematic to the 60 frames per second, even to the bright and saturated UI elements that are really so representative of Miku and friends, all of it just left such a fantastic impression on me. And really that's the general theme of this game, I find. Many moments I just found myself either smiling from ear to ear or even dancing along to some of the songs as I played, honestly. Now I should go ahead and mention that this game did not receive a physical release outside of Japan, which honestly is okay, but as someone who always loved having physical copies of games, as well as a huge Miku fan that just likes getting his hands on as much Miku merch as possible, this was a little bit disappointing to me. Nonetheless, this game can be purchased on the eShop for $39.39 and for $60 if you guys want the full package, including all songs and modules. Let's talk about the returning features first. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about the gameplay. For those of you who might not be familiar with the Project Diva franchise, let me tell you, I'm going to do my best to convince you guys to give this game and franchise a shot. Project Diva Megamix is a rhythm game that doesn't rely on anything too gimmicky when it comes to gameplay. As a matter of fact, the gameplay is quite simple. You see symbols flying across the screen as well as arrows, and all you've really got to do is tap the symbols to the beat and also slide the arrows to the song. But simple doesn't necessarily mean boring. As a matter of fact, I would argue that that is where Project Diva shines. The game allows the player to focus on individual songs and mastering those songs at the different difficulties without worrying about anything too weird or too gimmicky. You will be challenged by this game, as many of these songs come with 4 different modes. You've got easy, normal, hard, and extreme, and some of the songs even have extra extreme, I believe it was called. I did find myself getting my $60 worth just because of how fun and exciting the gameplay was at many times. There are some things to keep in note, one of them being that we all know that the Nintendo Switch is not as powerful as the PlayStation 4, which was the last console that we last saw Miku and her friends. So I need to mention that you will see dips in frame rate, both in docked mode and in handheld mode, although you'll see it more in handheld mode. For example, for music videos that involve a lot of animations and motions, especially for the music videos that have more than one character being rendered live on the screen, you will see dips from 60 frames per second to 30 frames per second. However, you don't need to worry because this drop in frame rate does not include the actual symbol motion sliding across the screen. It's only the 3D rendered portions that are affected. So if you're concerned about accuracy or inaccuracies with these frame rate dips, you don't have to worry because the motion of those symbols remains a smooth and silky 60 frames per second. But talking specifically about the gameplay, finally being able to play this game on my Nintendo Switch Pro controller, that felt so good. But I do need to mention something weird about the Nintendo controller specifically. For those of you guys that have a Pro controller, you know that the D-pad isn't really the most accurate thing in the world. And what I noticed is that as I use the D-pad more and more for the faster sections of this game, I noticed great inaccuracies, and they would happen every now and then, but they happened frequently enough that it really just threw off my rhythm. For example, you guys know that with the PlayStation 4 controllers, the directional buttons are segmented instead of being part of a single cross-shaped D-pad. Well, with the Pro controller, it's not like that. It's a single D-pad that you have to press up, down, left, or right, and sometimes I found that pressing in one direction would sometimes register a different direction direction, so I can see that easily throwing people off once they're trying to get into the groove of a song. But I don't want something like that to inhibit you from making this purchase, because the game really shines when playing in handheld mode. The button travel in general feels really good, and it is extremely easy and just feels so good to hit the rapid notes and cymbals accurately. It really just feels like such a joy playing it in handheld mode. Another returning feature are the usage of modules and accessories. Now, each song has its own accompanying music video in which Miku and possibly some of her friends are dancing around or doing their own thing, and the modules and accessories allow you to change the physical appearance of each character within those music videos. The game does offer a recommended module and accessory set for each song, but many times it is fun to mix and match. You can end up with some pretty comical results playing the game that way. Yeah, the whole module and accessory thing really is a tribute to Miku fans. It's more a fan service, just being able to dress up the characters. I do find myself having a good amount of fun with that as well, but I never really spent too much time in switching things up with modules and accessories. Although if you're into dressing up the characters in different ways, I believe that you're gonna have a lot of fun with that. Yet another returning feature are the music video playlists. Now, I should say that this is kind of an area where Sega dropped the ball. These music video playlists allow the player to select songs from the song list and then add it to their own customized playlists so that they can play the songs either in order or shuffled if they'd like. But don't be fooled, these playlists are only for listening to the songs or for watching the music videos. And I feel like that's such a huge wasted potential, because I would have loved to see a feature where I could have selected some of my favorite songs and then just play them continuously, trying to make it through kind of survival stylish, if you will. Add on top of that, that for every single release of this game, you only get the Romanji subtitles for each of these music videos. I would have loved to see an English translation for each of these songs, although I totally understand that would have been a lot of work on Sega's part, but still, I feel like the music video playlist was just a huge wasted potential on Sega's part. So those are a lot of the returning features in this game, and let me say that you see a lot of these returning features because over the last few years, Sega has really had a lot of time to polish the formula of Project Diva, and I feel like it holds up coming over to the Nintendo Switch. But let's talk about some of the new features as well. One of those big new features that goes back to the whole idea of being fan servicey was the addition of the T-shirt design feature. I actually feel like this is quite appropriate for the 10th anniversary, I believe, yeah, the 10th anniversary of the franchise. It's really a great way for players to express themselves by customizing their own T-shirts for any of the characters to wear. If you guys customize a shirt, you can have Miku wear it, you can have Rin or Len wear it, you can have Luca wear it. It really is a neat feature, but I do have to knock it because the toolset itself is quite limited. And yes, I know that many people can make fantastic designs in this T-shirt design maker, given the tools that they have, and I've seen a lot of fantastic designs online. Honestly, sometimes I just wonder how people come up with such sick designs using joysticks of all things. Kudos to you guys. But when you compare this T-shirt design maker to those that you see in other games such as Animal Crossing, which really, those aren't all that complex either, but they do come with more sophisticated tool sets such as shape tools. It would have been really nice to see simple tools like that come over to this game as well. I think that a lot of people can still have fun with this and design, like I said, fantastic t-shirts for their favorite characters to wear. Another new feature was one that was focused more on the gameplay, and that was mix mode. When it comes to mix mode, all I can say is now, I get it, okay? There was a lot of excitement and hype over seeing Project Diva finally making its way onto the Nintendo Switch, and I can see how it was easy to get excited in trying to add new gameplay styles that made use of the motion controls within the Joy-Cons. So the game instructs you to hold the Joy-Cons like this so that you can easily press the ZR and the ZL buttons respectively. But the idea is that you have two cursors, one for the left hand, one for the right hand. And the idea is to tilt it and shift them so that you can have the cursors align with the notes falling down the screen. And then once those notes align with your cursor, you press either ZL or ZR to register a tap. There's a lot of this going on and a lot of this going on. Now I have to say that I ultimately did not spend too much time in this mode because I didn't enjoy it. When it comes to motion controls, I feel like I'm kind of over that motion control phase where I feel like it's best utilized in things like VR nowadays. I definitely appreciate the effort on Sega's part to offer us something new, and they definitely did offer us something new, but for me, it just didn't stick. I'm the type of person that would much rather stick to the traditional form of gameplay and focus solely on improving at that, because of course when you focus on too many things at a time, even if it's 2 things, you will see slower progress in both of those things versus if you were to focus on just one of those things. I will say though that mix mode was not the only new gameplay style that they added to Mega Mix. They also added what they call tap mode, which honestly I prefer much more than mix mode because it doesn't rely on motion controls. Instead, it relies on the Nintendo Switch touchscreen here. Now, I know to some that might sound just as unappealing as the mix mode motion controls, but the reason why I enjoy this mode is because it closely resembles what you'd find on the arcade cabinets. On the bottom of the screen, you'll see the buttons that you need to tap, and those buttons parallel the layout that you'll see on the arcade cabinet itself. Before turning this mode on, I was pretty skeptical. When playing songs for the first time in tap mode, there were moments when I noticed that the buttons did not respond as quickly as I would have wanted them to. Ultimately, after checking Sega's guide again as to how to play tap mode, I realized that what was going on was the buttons are laid out at the bottom of the touchscreen here, and I was tapping the touchscreen too close to the bottom of the screen. As a matter of fact, sometimes without realizing it, I'd get so caught up in playing the game that I wouldn't realize that my fingers were already tapping areas of the screen that weren't meant to be tapped. So Sega, in their foresight, had it so that the screen could be viewed as 4 equally sized vertical sections, and each of those sections could be tapped to register each button press. For example, if you see the X button, you don't necessarily have to tap on the X button at the bottom of the screen, but you can tap anywhere above it within its own vertical region to register a press for that X button. After adjusting my style of gameplay and where my fingers were positioned, I honestly found myself really enjoying this mode, and this is more the mode that I can see myself returning to if ever I needed a break from the traditional button pressing gameplay. I know that what I said almost sounds like it contradicts what I said about mixed mode, how I prefer to focus on one style of gameplay, but I can see myself playing this mode more because it more closely resembles the arcade cabinet, which I have played, and it also doesn't focus on the wonky motion controls. I mean, to each their own. You guys might find something to enjoy in mixed mode, you guys might find something to not enjoy in mixed mode. Same with tap mode. You guys might like or dislike it, but all in all, I can say that I still do appreciate Sega's effort to offer us something new on this version of the game. So yeah, I can still see myself returning to tap mode every now and then. So in conclusion, what can I say about this game as a whole? Honestly, I can say that Miku and friends have done a fantastic job in transitioning to this new platform. Future Tone and Color Tone for the PS4, those were already excellent titles. But what makes this one stand apart is that it once again returns to form and allows you to play this game on the go, similar to how you'd play it on the PlayStation Portable or on the PS Vita. I feel like I got my $60 worth out of it because it really is just such an addicting game that I know that you guys will spend a lot of time in. And yes, while the gameplay again does appear simple, at least when you're watching videos of it on YouTube, let me tell you, I believe that you will be challenged by this game, and that challenge will make this game very difficult to put down. So in the end, I believe that Miku and friends made a graceful and beautiful transition onto the Nintendo Switch, and I would highly recommend this game to anyone, whether veterans of the franchise or people just trying to satisfy their itch for rhythm games. I definitely recommend giving this game a look. So for those of you that have not yet picked up Project Diva Mega Mix, are you guys going to make the jump? And for those of you that have purchased Project Diva Mega Mix, what are your thoughts on the game? How does it stack up to the previous Project Diva games that came before it? I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button as well as the subscribe and bell button to receive notifications of when new videos on anime and Japanese games go live on the channel next. Thank you guys once again. I will see you in the next video here on Vytera, but until then, you guys take care. Bye.